We just got back for the unveiling of the MartinLogan Motion and Motion XT speakers at Audio Advice in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. As you guys know, last week I was talking about this Audio Advice event where they're going to be unveiling the new MartinLogan Motion Series speakers. They wanted me to come out, take a listen, and do a report on it. So I'm here now to give you the results. What I want to do is focus just on a very casual listening demo experience that I had with these speakers. But we're going to be doing more detailed videos. We've got some engineer-related videos from MartinLogan. They're going to give us the details on the design specifications of these speakers and why they did what they did to make these speakers the way they are. But I just want to talk to you guys about what I heard and how I enjoyed these speakers in particular. So you guys may not realize this, but I was a fan of the Motion series from last generation, the Motion XT XTs. They were not a perfect speaker, but what I did like about them was they had the ability to play loud and clean. They were very dynamic. They had good bass response. Not a perfect speaker, but they were actually a very enjoyable speaker, and they impressed me in the couple of installs that I did. Well, MartinLogan really upped their ante in this new generation of speakers. You're going to be hearing more details about this shortly. But what they did was basically come out with a whole new series of speakers, basically designed from the ground up. They have a new waveguide on their AMTs. They have new driver technology on their mids and their bass drivers. And it's a big step up. And I spent a good amount of time at Audio Advice listening to all the different demo rooms there. I kept coming back to one particular demo room. It was with the F100s. It's the second from the top of the line in the Motion XT series. I was enamored by their performance. I'll tell you a little bit about that. You could see me here with Scott Newnham, who's the CEO of Audio Advice. We're standing next to the F200s, which are the flagship of the series. Very impressive speakers. You can see the specs here if anyone's wondering the breakdown of the different models. I was looking again at the F100s in this particular listening event. The model above that, which was in their theater room, was the F200s. They're basically very similar speakers, except they have three 8-inch aluminum bass drivers, whereas the F100s have three 6.5-inch aluminum bass drivers. They all have the sensitivity rating of about 92 dB, which is really good. And these are 4-ohm rated speakers, so I do recommend you use a stout amplifier. Entry-level receivers do not a good amplifier make for these kind of speakers. I would definitely go with the upper-end Denons, or the Yamaha Avantage, the RXA 6A or 8A, those kind of amplifiers, and of course integrated amplifiers like Anthem Electronics do really well for 4-ohm speakers like this. So I want to show you, I had some listening demos that I went on. I wasn't familiar with some of these artists, but MartinLogan put on a really good demo before I was able to select my own music that I wanted to hear. So the first one was a gentleman named Geoff Castellucci. And I was blown away by how deep this guy can sing. Like, you look at this picture of him and you're like, oh, he's probably got maybe a baritone. This guy had some deep bass notes, and his voice came out so articulate and so clean on the F100s. I love the fact that anytime he was snapping his finger or he had the backing vocals, you could literally hear from the sidewalls. These speakers threw out such a large sound stage. It made me feel like I was listening in surround sound with at least 4 speakers. It was that good. The imaging was that incredible on these speakers. I really was impressed with the deep bass notes that this song dropped. I mean, I think they were really trying to show off why these speakers have such good bass capability. And you're going to find out in our interview, MartinLogan did some really trick things with these speakers. If you notice in the speakers and how they look, all of the bass drivers are really close to the floor. Some of the towers that you see from competitors, they leave like a foot of space from the floor to the woofer. And there's advantages to getting those woofers really close to the floor. You can help to eliminate ground bounce. You also get better coupling because you're close to a surface where you get some gain from that. They also have the ports at the bottom of the cabinet, which again helps with a couple of things. It actually helps couple to the floor better. It acts as a low pass filter, so it gets rid of any kind of noise that the port could potentially make. And they did ground balance compensation. And that's not something you hear from a lot of loudspeaker companies these days. And I do think there's a lot of benefit to that because these speakers were producing bass that was above their weight class. And they impressed me on several demos that we heard. So the next demo that we were listening to was from someone called David Garfield. I'm not familiar with this artist, but I'm very familiar with Nathan East. He's a fabulous bass player. He's played with many bands, including Foreplay and Eric Clapton and countless others. And what really drew me to this demo was the slap bass and the snare drums. It was such excellent transients. It was demonstrating that these speakers could really produce transients with authority and realism. The next demo that they put on, and I hope I don't say his name wrong, it's from someone named Martin. So he did a rendition of Moonlight Sonata, but it was an acoustic version. He was using acoustic guitar. And I was really impressed by how vibrant the acoustic guitar sounded on these speakers. And again, it was another example of speakers that a song that had really deep bass roots towards the middle. And I was looking around, I was like, man, is there a subwoofer on? Sure enough, there was none. It was just basically the two speakers that you see here. This was the demo room. It was a small room, barely even treated, and it was running Anthem STR integrated amplifier and a streaming platter that was playing Tidal. So it was a very modest setup, but it had very good amplification, obviously. But these speakers in this configuration really impressed in how they were able to deliver the bass, how they were able to deliver the transients, how they were able to image. I mean, it just did a lot of magic that you always come to expect from a really good two-channel experience. And I wanted to also reiterate that there was no room correction. There was no EQ. They wanted to play this flat. They figured they want to let people just hear what the speaker is, not with any room EQ or any bass boost or anything like that. So that was really impressive to me. So after we heard this little demo that MartinLogan put on, I was like, it's time for me to hear music that I'm familiar with. Of course, I put on Dominique Fils-Aimé. We're big fans of her. She's a friend of the channel. Her recordings are really audiophile. We used the album Nameless, and particular track I used was Birds, and I've spoken about this track before. I love tracks like this because there's a lot of decorrelated information in this kind of a track, and you get to extract it, whether you're using an up mixer for Dolby or DTS or Oro, but you also get to hear how a speaker can bring this life to this recording and give you an expansive stereo soundstage. So obviously in this demo, it was just those two speakers. But what I was hearing was the snapping of Dominique's fingers. I was hearing it around me, again, like it was in surround sound. Her vocals were anchored right in the center. There was no coloration or bloat in her vocals. A lot of times when you listen to female vocals on a speaker that's not tonally neutral, you will get some coloration and you'll hear it pronounced more in female vocals than in male vocals. I really felt like the vocal experience I was hearing from the F100s was authentic and clean. And then just the overall presentation of her recording, her voice was just out of this world. I even put on some vintage stuff. I wanted to see if anybody would respond to. I put on some classic rock, some Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti, 10 Years Gone. Now, obviously, there are limitations to that recording, but I was quite impressed that it was enjoyable listening on the MartinLogans. They didn't really botch up a not so great recording. They just sounded good. I mean, everything we put on in this speaker, in this demo, really gave us a sense that these speakers are well-tuned, well-balanced. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and basically say that the Motion XT F100s are probably the best buy of the entire series. At only about $4,500, you get a true full-range tower, a pair of speakers. They look beautiful. They have different color options. They image like bastards. Let me just tell you that. They really image well. They have good clarity. They're not tonally, they're not skewed. To me, they're neutral, but they give you good bass authority that you don't always get with tower speakers. So overall, I was impressed. We're going to be reviewing the F200s. Matthew Pose is getting a sample of their flagship speaker. He's going to be doing measurements. I'll be going there to his house to listen to these speakers in an environment that we're familiar with. So you're going to be seeing more coverage of these speakers as we progress over this year. If you want more details on these speakers, please check out audioholics.com. We have an editorial that has all the detailed specs, the driver technologies, what the Obsidian AMT is all about, the different dispersion characteristics from the Motion and the Motion XT, and just, you know, all the little nitty gritty details that you guys would want to hear about if you're really interested in these products. We're going to be doing several other videos, so there's going to be a lot of coverage. And I just want to say, I really enjoyed this demo experience. I went to about 5 or 6 different active demo rooms throughout that whole Audio Advice incredible showroom, and I kept coming back to these because I really enjoyed the F100s. So guys, I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. Hit that thumb up, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget about, you know, sharing this video if you love it. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.